Welcome to the Tuning In podcast, where we talk alignment, intuition, and our internal guidance system. We cover woo-woo topics in an approachable and practical way. I'm your host, Dana Evans of Alignful.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. Okay, people. I have such an awesome episode for you this week. I am so excited to share it. I interviewed an amazing spiritual healer from Hawaii. Her name is Lahela, and she shares all about her journey from being a really beautiful professional photographer for over 30 years to being a spiritual healer and how she followed that pathway that she was called to follow. So she is a spiritual guide who helps people develop a stronger connection with their higher self, their divine soul, so that they can be empowered to stand in their truth, live inspired lives, take 100% responsibility, not give their power away to fear and to external forces, realize that they are a sovereign, sentient being of light, and navigate better through these challenging times moment to moment with clarity and resilience. Oh, does that not sound like the most beautiful thing ever? So we have just an inspiring, delightful conversation. Lahela shares so many insights, and she talks about spreading the light. She talks about kind of not getting stuck in the muck of life and really clearing the muck so that we can let go, trust, and allow, and move into the higher versions of ourselves that we need to be in order to make change in this life. She uses a bunch of delightful Hawaiian words, and she describes the meaning behind them. And it just goes to show that speaking with intention is beyond just the intention of your speech, but the intention and the meaning of the words that you use. She talks about having a negative mindset and also about her path of being ready to know more and not feeling ready to know more, even though she was being called to speak up and to shift her lifestyle so that she could serve in a different way. She also talks about awareness. And we have a really delightful conversation about nature and how we as humans can be one and interact with nature. So insightful, so powerful. We have such an uprising coming in our world right now. And she really speaks about how we as individuals can ground our energy and go inward first, and then step forward and move outward with so much love, compassion, awareness, and intention, and really make change that way. And then finally, I encourage you to stay on until the end of this conversation, because we end the call with a emotional cord cutting. And she talks all about this on the conversation, but you and I have spoken about clearing our emotions, right? Processing our internal emotions first so that our energy is clean before we take action. And this is a very actionable practice that you can do. I encourage you to be in a place on this call, especially toward the end, where you can be very present and follow the practice of the aka. They're called aka cords, energetic ties, and we'll cut those cords. It's a few minutes, so it's not taking a ton of time, but it's really powerful. And in fact, I'm recording this intro a few days after I was on the interview with Lahela. And actually, the night of the cord cutting, I slept really well. But the following night, I slept for 11 hours. And it's amazing to witness the after effects of an energetic clearing because we're dealing typically with more subtle energy. So I think we tend to dismiss it like, oh, I didn't feel something profound or crazy right away. You may, to be clear, just with any sort of emotional clearing, you may feel tears or some sort of physical sensation. But the after effects, as I call it, the aftershock of that clearing is also going to be very powerful. So just be aware. And she also reminded me to ask each of you after this clearing, which is called Ho'oponopono. That's the Hawaiian name for this prayer, this clearing. She asked me to remind you all to do it when you can have some space afterwards. So just like with the inner voice sessions, just like with the emotional beanbag release, you don't want to necessarily do it and then have like a ton of work and expectations and commitments afterward. She encourages you to do it and then have some space so that your body can assimilate. Also space to rest, also drinking water and tea to help hydrate and continue to clear those emotions. So again, that is at the end of the session. I am so excited for you to hear and listen to this. Please, if you feel inspired after listening to this episode, tag me at Dana_Evans and tag Lahela at KAHULAHELA. Kahu Lahela is her Instagram handle. Tag both of us and share what insights you gained from this episode. I am so excited for you to experience the clearing and experience the light, energy, and beauty that Lahela has to offer for each of you. So without further ado, here's this week's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As I mentioned on the introduction, I am blessed to be joined by the wonderful Lahela, and she is in here from Hawaii, or Hawaii, how they pronounce it. There's apostrophes in the words, and I'm practicing them. So she is a really delightful soul. We've actually been chatting before this call, and that probably could have been its own podcast episode. She has so much insight, so much light, and I am so delighted that she gets to be here. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Aloha mai kako. Welcome. It's so wonderful. I want to just send my love out to all your beautiful listeners, wherever you may be in the world, and just send my aloha waves of aloha to each one of you. Thank you so much, Dana, for this incredible opportunity to be with you.
So grateful. And you'll find as we talk, I'm going to sing you praise, but she really aligns with the messaging of this podcast and way beyond. So listen with your heart, not just your mind, because I believe there's a lot that will come through when you really feel into this episode and pay attention. So I would say this isn't one to listen to while doing 7 other things, but see if you can find some space for yourself to be and receive. And can you tell us what aloha means?
Yes, aloha is not only our way of life here in Hawaii, it's also Hawaiian value. What it is, best, this one hula teacher, her name is Olana Ai, she says, I love the way her quote is that aloha is the intelligence with which we meet life. It's how we're showing up every day. And aloha is reverence for all of life.
I love that. And what a beautiful greeting.
Yeah, there's that sense of respect for one another. So when we say aloha kekahi I kekahi, it means love one another, aloha one another, recognize the beauty and grace in others, and the divine presence in others.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, love that. Aloha. Aloha to you. So will you share, everyone got your background in the intro, which is just so beautiful, but Will you share a little bit of how you got here? Because from my understanding, you did not start out as this spiritual teacher and you had kind of another path of getting here.
Yes, well, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background from my childhood. I was born and raised here. I'm half Hawaiian, half Caucasian, and I was raised here on the island of Oahu, on the windward side of Oahu, and grew up right along the shores of this incredible, very sacred valley that is called Hakipu'u. And having been raised up here on the shorelines of Hakipu'u, which I still live I live deeper in the valley now of the same valley, Hakipu'u. But I was brought up in a Hawaiian household with, my parents and my grandparents raised us to embrace all of life and to be well-rounded in all areas. So I grew up loving, the ocean. My father introduced us to boating and being outdoors, and me and my brothers, we would hike in the mountains, and we were very outdoorsy. And anyway, I took up an interest at an early age. My father gave me my first camera, which then remained with me for many, many years. In high school, took up photography, and my photography teacher introduced me to a school in Santa Barbara, Brooks Institute of Photography in Santa Barbara, which I later attended. And I returned home to Hawaii, and I would say 4 years later, I decided to open up my own photography studio. So I worked for some photographers, just sort of learning the studio aspects of photography and learning to be a photo assistant and those kinds of things, and just sort of, getting introduced to the business side of photography. So when I was a professional photographer for 30 years, and I love photography. It was just in every cell in my being that photography was just the most incredible way to express myself and to document life around me. But I would say that the last 5 years of my life, of my photography career, it felt as though someone was whispering in my ear or tapping me on the shoulder to go in another direction. I didn't really know what was happening at that time, but I noticed that I was beginning to release the camera. My interest in photography began to wane, and I was being pointed in another direction or led to move in another direction, and I just didn't really know what I was to do. I was being guided. And I always say it's sort of like entering into a labyrinth. You don't really know where you're going to end up, but there's a reason why you're going to go this way. You're going to meet someone here, and which then you're going to go in another direction. You're going to meet somebody over there. And that's life just sort of unfolding. As I took each step, it seemed as though there were 10 steps ahead of me that opened up to guide me. And I knew I was being guided. I knew I wasn't alone. I knew that spirit was guiding me. I didn't know where I was going, but I was simply to just trust. Just trust. And my mantra is let go, trust, and allow. It's sort of been my mantra for many, many years now. And they led me. I had a mentor at the time, and he did some card readings for me, and he says, you're stepping into a life as a sage. And he said, so I was just to ask the question, who will be my kumu, my teacher? And I said, aren't you my teacher? And he says, no, you need to ask. So I asked, and then a year later, I was introduced to my kumu, Karen Lealoha Carroll, who is no longer with us. She passed away last year. However, I was in training. Uh, she she invited me to come into her halau, her school, and at the time, I was eager, I was interested, and I knew that it was a spiritual undertaking. But I asked her. I said, she says, "Would you like to be inducted as a kahu?" And and I knew what that meant, but I questioned it as to whether or not I was ready. And I asked her. I said, "Kumu, well, I would really love to be inducted by you as a kahu, and I'll explain what kahu is in just a minute. I don't feel that I'm ready. Don't I need lessons? Don't I need training?" And she said that God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the called. And when she said that, I got it.
That's so good.
Yeah. And I said, okay, got it. So I just said yes. I accepted this kuleana. Kuleana is responsibility. It's 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 a big responsibility. It's a big undertaking because um, as a kahu under kumu, like there can be many different kahu. There can be a kahu of accounting. There can be a kahu of cooking. There can be a kahu of canoe building. There can be a kahu of construction. So under kumu, and for each person, it's your own awareness. I had to figure out what I was a kahu of. Nobody told me I was a kahu of this or that. I needed to figure it out on my own. And so kahu is, for me, is I'm a steward of the light, meaning that I work with the light. The light works with me. I was a photographer. What do you do as a photographer? You look at the light. You utilize light. Light is a way to, what for me at the time was a way to document the life that I saw that was happening, that was occurring on the external. Well, in that calling, when I was being tapped on the shoulder, I was being asked to go in another direction, and I realized what they were saying, sharing with me is, instead of using my eyes to document life outside on the external, they said to turn my gaze inward, use my eyes to look within, and use the light to shine within, and to realize that beautiful ember of light that glows from my heart center, and now focus my awareness there rather than on the external. So it was a whole inward journey, and it's still to this day very much so an inward journey. And even while I'm talking with you, I'm right now I'm what we say here in Hawaii, I'm getting chicken skin just sharing this, because and when this happens, when you get chicken skin, that's truth. And so I pay attention to these messages, because I say they, because spirit communicates with me, and it's from the inside, and it's like a knowing. It's not like I'm hearing words, but it's just like a knowingness when they're communicating with me. And I say they because we're all connected through our heart center to this web where everything, all of life is connected. And from that heart center is our divine truth. It's who we are at our core. It's not this human aspect of who we are. It's not our human personality. It's coming from a place that is so vast, and that is so deep and so wide, and it's endless. It's like the universe within. And so that's who I when I say they, that's who I'm referring to. So I hope that makes some kind of sense.
It does. I got chills when you were saying that, the explaining that level of connection. I feel that very deeply. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And here's, I'm going to bring it back for a moment to Earth because I love what happens is oftentimes we'll get that tap on the shoulder. And, anyone listening may be feeling that right now. And then we go right into the mind and we think, well, that doesn't make sense. How will that work? How will I make it work? And we shut down the knowing and we don't trust. And we don't listen to the signs and the nudges. And maybe you're not, being called, right, to this high level of it, kahu,
Kahu.
kahu,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you are, maybe, right? You said it could be in many different forms. So you are being called. But when we shut that down because the mind shuts us down, look at what you're closing yourself off from. Because you explained so beautifully that journey of getting the tap and just kind of following it. And your energy and experience of that is so palpable. And it makes that questioning mind seem rather insignificant to see where you are now versus right when that nudge was happening. And I mean, was it challenging for you? Did your mind get involved and say, oh, but this is what you do, this is what you've known? Or what happened with that unfolding?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, I would doubt myself. I would doubt this inner guidance, and I would question too much. And I knew that I was in my head too much, and that I needed to drop into my heart space. And I was even told that, by my kumu and by others. Oh, you're in your head. You're in your head. Drop into your heart. And then also it, you know, I would catch myself when I was being in my head, and how I would drop into my heart is as I would just feel my heart. I would just visualize just dropping into my heart center, my awareness, and coming from that place rather than being logical about the things that are happening around me, to be open. And that's an important part of dropping into your heart center, your heart space, is that your heart has to be open. You have to be open to the vastness of information that's there, of awareness. We overthink in our minds. We're too busy in our minds trying to make, like you said beautifully, you said trying to make sense of everything, when things don't really need to make sense, because things just are. Things are neither good nor bad. They just are. And so it's having that awareness and that acceptance, accepting that this is what I'm experiencing. And in this experience, I'm opening up my heart to feel, so that I can feel my way through life rather than thinking my way through life. And as I was able to exercise my ability to feel my way through life and situations, we would go with Kumu on blessings of homes and businesses. And when you show up that way, you can feel energy in a room, in a space. You can feel energy in a home, and your feeling can assess what's taking place there or what has occurred there, because energy is very palpable. You can feel energy. And this is what, these are the skills that we each had to embrace. We had to strengthen. It's just that muscle. It's like strengthening. It's like going to the gym. Any, when you're trying to strengthen a muscle, you work on that muscle. It's the same thing spiritually. It's the same thing. You just work on the spiritual muscle of feeling. And everyone can do this. Everyone is capable of doing this. And then your awareness, once you start to exercise that muscle, your awareness grows and grows and grows. And it's no longer, you're not focused on you anymore. You're stretching your boundaries out and out and out. And now when you enter into a room, you can really feel people where they're at, what's going, and sometimes maybe you don't want to and you want to shut it down, and that's safe to do as well, because we don't want to take on other people's energies either. So we do need to protect ourselves, and there's ways to do that as well.
Yeah, it takes reading the room to a whole nother level
Yeah.
because you're feeling it. And that made me think about the idea of your inner essence. And that the term on its own kind of sounds very esoteric and unattainable, but I love your description there, and I was doing it as you were talking about it, is just closing your eyes and feeling into your heart, feeling into your body. And to me, even going beyond that and feeling like the subtle energy, because we're so like, in a lot of ways, we're kind of like Bigfoot. We're pretty burly and like we're intense. It's like there's anger and then there's sadness and then there's joy, but there's so many subtleties in between, including our own energy vibrations. And when you can slow down, I mean, I can even just feel right now, I would love to know your take on this actually. I can feel like the tingling around my fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, there's so much more than just that physicalness that we have, but it takes a bit more of a sensitive awareness to feel into that.
Mm. That's a great way to describe how to feel, how to be aware of your feelings. And when you feel that, that's your chi energy. That's your, and what we say here in Hawaii, it's your personal power. It's your mana. Your mana is your personal power, and we can utilize this mana for greatness, and you can also utilize it for, in harmful ways. But when we're working with the light, we use our mana to cleanse, to cleanse and to heal. And this is something that I do with Ho'oponopono on a regular basis to cleanse myself, because I can't go and be of service if I'm dragging a lot of baggage around with me, my own emotional baggage, my own mental baggage. I need to cleanse myself. I need to open up my channels, clear my channels, and flush out the debris that doesn't belong there, so it doesn't weigh me down, so that I can be that channel of light as a kahu, as a steward of the light. I channel the light. I'm a conduit for the light to flow through me. I'm not doing the work. Divine Spirit is doing the work through me. I'm providing a way for this light to come here through me to earth and help move any obstacles, move any blockages, remove any negativity, any heaviness, any density that is impeding someone's ability to create flow in their home, in their bodies, and in people's businesses as well. So, it's just a beautiful it's just a beautiful way to be of service. I love being of service this way. And and it's interesting because as a kahu, as a steward of the light, people will call me out of the blue. They'll send me an email and or text me or find me on Facebook or find me on Instagram, and they're they're going through real life situations that they need help with, and they are seeking light to come in and remove any density. And right now, there's so much going on in the world that we can all do this for ourselves. And when we can do this for ourselves, then we can do this for others. And so it's so beautiful to be aware that we each have the ability to be channels of light. And but we gotta I say clean house. We gotta clean out the clutter, remove all the mental chatter and the heavy emotions, and get lighter. Just get lighter overall. Just get lighter with our thoughts, lighter with our emotions, lighter with the foods we eat, lighter with just how we walk upon Mother Earth, just lighter in all areas of our lives. And then we can become these beautiful channels of the light, and we can help not only ourselves, but our families, our homes, our communities, our cities, just the world, the planet, help Mother Earth.
Oh, and that topic of light, I am passionate about it. And it's so funny you mentioned food, because I just 2 days ago, I felt the calling to do a cleanse. And I was like, I don't want to do that. My mind didn't want to do that. But I checked in, and the answer was yes. And I was following, it would be Medical Medium's cleanse, for anyone's listening, if you're familiar. And just reading it, it's, fruits and vegetables and, less fat, and just things that bring freshness and lightness and vibrancy to my body. And the interesting thing is, in the past, a while ago, a previous version of myself, I would cleanse from the mind, like I need to. And now I only do it if it feels right. And what came through was I was making space. For what? I do not know. But just this conversation that you're bringing up about, if we sit with the muck, if we sit in our own muck, then we're dragged down and we can't do any good. We can't serve when we're in that. And yet I feel like I see it constantly is there's almost like an expectation to fall into the pain cycle instead of freeing yourself to move through it. Do you have thoughts or feelings upon that?
Yes. So I love what you said there. When we're suffering, when we're in that pain, and we're just sitting in that muck, the mental thoughts drag us down. We're thinking about, oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, maybe I'm too fat, maybe I'm just not smart enough, maybe, and all of these, how we're speaking to ourselves. We're really dragging ourselves down. And then emotionally too, how we feel about ourselves. It's just a downward spiral. And a lot of this is where we are stuck living in our past. We're not actually living in the present moment, because our thoughts will drag us away from the present moment where it's not serving us. It's holding us back. Like you said, you wanted to do a cleanse, but your mind said no. It's the simple things like that, right? That we can actually, we have a choice to listen to that inner voice that you talk about. Listen to the inner voice rather than the ego mind that keeps us stuck. We can free ourselves from that. And we can cut those, what we say, in Ho'oponopono, cut those negative aka cords or connections that hold us in the past. Because we're either we're living in one of two experiences. Either you're living in the present moment inspired by divinity, by that divine presence within, or you're reliving painful memories or reliving thoughts from the past. So we have a choice. It's one or the other. And when you catch yourself just sort of going through that downward spiral, thinking about something that is just holding you down, it's almost suffocating, then you have a choice right then and there to release that. And then to think about what inspires you. Think about being gratitude. Whenever you're in gratitude pulls you up out of that negative place. And then when you're in gratitude, that's where you can create. And that's when you can become inspired and strengthen that inner voice that is always there. It never goes away. It's always there, and it's always there to support you. It's always there to inspire you, to fill you up, to encourage you. And when we're in that space, then that is what I say, co-creating with the universe. That is being inspired in living in the present moment, being inspired by the divine presence within, listening to that inner voice.
And that's so beautiful. And what I see is there is so much pain, and there is a lack of education and training on how to clear that, because we can't just go from, eventually you probably can snap out of it. We get better and better, but when there's pain, when there's baggage, when there's long-term processing that hasn't happened, then we do get kind of stuck. So to me, and another reason she's mentioned cutting the aka cords a couple times, we'll stay on because we are doing this so you can learn this on your own, because I believe the more skilled we become at acknowledging, feeling, processing, and releasing emotions, the more we can become beacons of light, the more we can tap into gratitude, right? It's really hard to tap into gratitude when you're completely, when you're out of practice, one, and when you're burdened by something. But the more we can clear those burdens, the easier it is to feel lifted. And so I love that, because what you describe, I think so many people want to access, but they're like, but how? But how? And that's not for me, right? And you just said it, and you can elaborate if you feel called to, but you said, well, this is for everyone.
Yes, it is for everyone. So do we want to do this Ho'oponopono now, or are we going to?
How about you explain it, and we'll see if anything comes out of that explanation.
Okay.
But yeah, why don't you explain what it is? And let me practice saying it. Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Okay. There's another apostrophe, everyone who's listening. So it's HO''O and then pono.
Right. Exactly. And so whenever you see that backwards and upside down apostrophe, it's what we call in the Hawaiian language an okina. And okina is placed between two vowels. So here in the word ho'oponopono, it's between the first two O's. It's H-O, okina, O, pono. just for those of you who want to write it down. And it does look like an apostrophe, but it's backwards and upside down.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, I'll keep that
Yeah.
in mind. Well, so it'll go in the show notes, but it will still be wrong unless I can copy it from the internet. I'm looking at my keyboard. Thank you also, just like as a caveat, I so appreciate you also educating us on the language and the different words and the meanings, because it's easy to forget. It's like, yes, words have meaning, but the meaning behind the meaning, and that gets back to kind of like you said with aloha, is there is intention and energy behind the words that we say as well. So I love hearing further explanation of everything. So thank you for that.
Yes. The Hawaiian language was only a spoken language for many, 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 many eons of time, for many, many years. And it wasn't until the missionaries arrived that it became in print. And so there, in the Hawaiian culture, the Hawaiian words have mana. Well, all words have mana. I mean, even the English words we speak have power. And so in the Hawaiian culture, when words are not just words, they have meaning, they have mana, they have power, and they take on an energy as we speak them. And ho'oponopono is, let me just break it down for our listeners, that pono means correct. It means good. It means right. And when you add ho'o in front of the word, any Hawaiian word, it's to cause goodness. It's to cause rightness. It's to cause balance. So it's an action word. And ho'oponopono is not just a practice. It's this, what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna share this ho'oponopono pule, or prayer, with our listeners, so that everyone can do this with us today. But it's an action word. It's alive. It's alive. It has consciousness. It's energy that is, we're reciting this, and this energy is going to go out, and it's going to do amazing things. It's going to cleanse. It's going to heal. It's going to transmute any heaviness, any darkness, into the pathway of light, because we're going to be cutting these aqua cords, these negative connections that don't serve us. And we're releasing it's as if we're trying to get ahead, but we feel like something's holding us back. Well, we're going to cut those cords so that we can be free. And we can make room in our lives for more goodness to come into our lives, for more pono to come into our lives.
And is it something that can be done at any time? When would someone use this?
So I use this prayer during the daytime, any time of day, between when the sun rises and the sun sets. Because I work with the light. And so we utilize light to remove heaviness and darkness. And it's just like when you walk into a room, you turn on the light, you are displacing the darkness with light. And so it's the same thing with ho'oponopono. We use the daylight and that's another beautiful awareness, is that in the Hawaiian culture, you're utilizing nature. You work with nature. You emulate nature. You do things at the appropriate times. And I do want to add that this is so perfect. I don't know exactly when you're airing this podcast, but we are right now is it okay to say that today is Juneteenth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, today is Juneteenth. I'm actually wearing this rosary, which is a rosale that is designed by Geraldine Camarillo, and she made this beautiful rosale, this new moon rosale, and it is made with black tourmaline and obsidian, I believe. Anyway, she knows what it's made with, but in honor of Juneteenth today, and also in honor of the new moon, which we are experiencing this weekend, and the summer solstice. So there's a lot of energy that is occurring this weekend, and it's a great time to do Ho'oponopono, to cut the aka cords, because we're going to start a new beginning with the new moon. And so everything, it comes together so beautifully today.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I want to get this out as soon as possible. So, but if they'll, because new moon is new energy, and we know that there's so much building energy right now. So it's okay to clear that, to release that, so we can step into the forward movement.
Right. And the energy that with which we are creating this podcast right now is going to be infused into this podcast. So it doesn't matter what day you're going to be receiving this audio, you'll receive the vibration and the healing of this time, this very potent time that we're in.
Woohoo! I just got chills and warmth.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, just one other comment that is just a reminder. Gosh, we could go on forever, but I want to allow us to get to the prayer, but is that reminder too of nature. And you said we're working with nature. And before we recorded this, you spoke so beautifully of just the heritage of Hawaii and how it's ingrained, and just like trusting with and being with nature. Could you speak on that really briefly? Because I feel like it gets really lost and disconnected. I personally have recently started hugging trees. My inner voice told me to hug trees, and I didn't do it for a few weeks. But when I go on hikes, I've noticed that a tree has called me, and then I'll spend some time with it, just like connecting to it. And I don't know what's happening or the how, but it feels really lovely. And it's like, even for me who's out there and I talk to animals and birds and flowers, that's like a whole new level. So I would love to hear what's behind nature from your perspective.
Yes. So, and I always say in the Hawaiian culture, because it's how I live my life, is to be connected with nature. We believe that as Indigenous peoples, that we don't exist where we could not exist without the healing elements and energy in nature. And so we work seamlessly with nature. We pray to nature. We ask permission before we step foot on a trail, on a hike. We ask permission that we could be there. We ask permission that we're granted safe passage. We ask permission if we can pick a flower off of a tree. We ask permission if I can harvest these plants, if it's time for me to harvest these, the lettuce or whatever it is I'm growing in my garden. We ask permission. We don't We don't just assume that we're entitled to doing whatever we want, our minds tell us to do. So we drop into our heart center and into our gut and into our feet. And we allow for ourselves to sort of, the best word that I can use is sort of like dissolve, or just so that we can be one with nature. So it's not about us. We're not in our heads. We're in our feet. We're grounded into Mother Earth. We shoot our roots out of our feet into Mother Earth, into the soil, so we can feel Mother Earth. We open our bodies up, open up our crown chakra and allow for the light to enter in through us, and just allow it to touch upon every cell in your body and down and out your feet into Mother Earth, and just feel really grounded and really rooted. And then, and as you walk lighter. You notice plant life around you. You notice how the wind is moving around you. You acknowledge spirit that is all around us. And there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of. Spirit is, there's what we see in the tangible and the physical is only 10% of what exists. The other 90% is in the unseen. So we embrace the unseen. We work together with the unseen world, and we embrace. And when we ask for permission, we are granted permission. But if we just feel that we can just do whatever we want, we can just assume that I can go here, I can go there, well, then that's when problems happen. That's when you get hurt. But if you ask permission, then you are granted safe passage. They go with you rather than against you. And that's how we work with nature. That's how we respect nature, we revere nature, we flow with nature.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And it's something that I think we can all really connect to. And what came up for me when you said that is, by tapping into inner awareness, we expand our outer awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read aloha again. I'm like, yeah, I can arrive at the trail with an aloha, which is, like you said, meeting with reverence. And I love that meaning of bringing that intention and then checking in and asking. I'll ask the next tree if I can hug it before I do. And take it to it. I will check in first. Beautiful. Thank you. So now I think we can move on to the prayer. And so I will ask anyone who's listening, we're going to make space for you to participate. So this is for you, and you can do this and also come back and re-listen to this if you feel called to do it again, the Ho'oponopono. And if you have any questions, we'll give you information on how to stay in touch after this. But go ahead and share with us, Lahela, and we'll be present and aware.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dana. So first I want to just share that this prayer was shared with me by my kumu, Karen Lealoha Carol. So I want to pay respects to her for gifting us, her haumana, her students, with this prayer. And so just get comfortable, and it's best if you close your eyes and you just inhale slowly and exhale slowly, and just center yourself and ground yourself, and all your thoughts, just bring your thoughts inward and to your breath. and just focus on your breath. Just be present, just inhaling in and out. And I'm going to say this prayer, and I'm going to pause to allow you to repeat it after me. And where I say my name, you're going to say your name. And so I'll begin. I, Kahu Lahela Johnson, wish to do a ho'oponopono of myself, Kahu Lahela Johnson. I wish to cut any aka cords or connections which are of imbalance, disharmony, or unwanted memories from the beginning of time until the present moment. I ask that these thoughts and memories be erased from my memory banks, and that only the good thoughts remain. I ask that I be cleansed, purified, and transmuted to the pathway of light. No longer will these thoughts, memories, and connections remain. Amamaua Noa. It is given. It is free. Amen. Now you can open your eyes, and I'm going to describe this because I'm going to be cutting the aka cords, and while Dana can see me, our listening audience can't see me. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to visualize a huge crystal bowl in front of you. It's about 2 feet high by about 2 feet wide. And from within this crystal bowl, light is emanating from the inside out. And this crystal bowl is so beautiful. It's got a goldish, whitish color to it. It's absolutely beautiful. And all this light is spilling forth, spilling out of it. So you're going to charge up your hands by rubbing the palms of your hands together, and you're going to charge up your mana, your energy. And now you're going to wave your hands up and down in front of you, up above, over your head. Use your ha, your breath. Your ha is your breath. It's the life force energy. And you're going to use your ha. You're going to inhale, and you're going to exhale, ha, and you're going to use your breath, and you're going to cut all the way down to the floor, just waving your hands in front of your body, all the way down to the floor. Over your head, down your face, down your chest, down your torso, down your legs, down to your feet, all the way down to the floor, cutting your aka cords, and then brushing your hands over your arms, and you're cutting all the aka cords and dropping them to the floor, dropping all the aka cords to the floor, and then down the back of your head, cutting, using your ha, cutting all the way down your back, all the way down your back, down the back of your legs, all the way to the floor, cutting all the cords, front and back, all the way down to the floor, down your arms, down your arms. You might feel a little tingly, and that's good. You're cutting all the cords and using your ha, use your breath. Now you're going to gather up all the cut aqua cords that are on the floor, and you're going to bring them up in a big ball. And you're going to just now use your jaw. You're going to inhale, and you're going to exhale, and you're going to place all these cut aqua cords into the crystal bowl. And exhale. You're going to pull up get all the little fibers and little pieces on the floor, bring them all up, and inhale and exhale and release them into the crystal bowl. Wipe your arms. Make sure you get all the little threads into the bowl. All the little pieces of debris. Inhale and exhale into the bowl. It's so beautiful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to charge up our hands again, rubbing our palms together, charging up our hands. And now we're going to place our hands toward the bowl, toward the crystal bowl. We're sending all of our love and our energy, our mana, to the bowl. And we're just inhaling and exhaling. Sending all of our love to the bowl. And as we do this, the bowl is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Charging up our hands again. It's going to inhale. I'm going to exhale. And this bowl is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. We'll do it one more time. Charge up our hands. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. It is done. That is beautiful. And see, I feel so much lighter. I feel lighter. I feel happy. I feel free. I feel just kind of looser. Like I don't feel like I'm encumbered by anything. And, while we have cut the negative aqua cords, the negative connections, we still have the loving aqua cords intact. And these beautiful loving aqua cords we have with people that we love and situations joyous situations, and we still have those intact. So.
Oh, thank you so much. What a gift that you've brought us. I thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to your Kumu
teacher.
Kumu teacher for allowing that to come through you as well. I would say it feels like my circulation is moving through, right? So there's energy, right? It's hard to describe, but I just feel like, if there's a sandstorm and then it was all dense and then it gets all puffed and sparkly into the air.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Yeah. It just gets push. Exactly. And you just clearing the space around you. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Wonderful.
Well, I'm so grateful we have this. And again, for anyone listening, this is a gift for you that you can come back and listen to this, especially we are in very charged times and there's a lot of stuff that you are processing, and it is a gift to yourself to actually do it and cut the cords and free yourself so that you can rise above and rise up and be that beacon of light that so many others need as well. So you need the light, others need the light, our consciousness, our earth needs the light.
Yes. And then you too, Dana, if you feel drawn to do this, you can even post the words for them to take down. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That did come up is Yeah, I would love to put the written words down so then they can read it too.
Hmm. And they can print it out and they can have it. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I always do this Ho'oponopono when it's daylight. And the reason why I utilize the visualize, I have you visualize the crystal ball is because wherever you may be listening to this recording, it might be nighttime. And we need a place to put the cut aqua cords. We can't just leave them on the floor, and especially at night. And so if you're doing this Ho'oponopono at night, then then you would want to utilize the visualization of the crystal bowl to place your aqua cords into, and and use your mana, your ha, your breath to um, to just um, dissolve it. and but yes, it would be best to do this during the daytime. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. Oh, I have so appreciated having you. You're such a delight to speak with and for sharing your wisdom. And where can people find you if they're like, I love Lahela as much as Dana does, and they want to find out more about you or connect with you?
Thank you so much. Yes, I have a website, which is kahulahela.com. I'll spell that. That's KAHULAHELA.com. And they will read more about me. They'll find out what else I do. And I do have an online course that I have called Turn Overwhelm into Empowerment. And it's a wonderful way to learn how to navigate through these challenging times. As I know it's not easy. These times are the cause of much fear and anxiety for some, for many of us actually. And we can tap into this inner source that we each have and navigate, make slight course corrections throughout our day to navigate better through these challenging times, so that we're not on the fringe of the hurricane, but that we're standing centered and grounded in the eye of the hurricane, where we can remain centered, grounded, and in alignment with divine source and this divine light that we have within us. And this way we can all navigate through these times better together.
That sounds wonderful. And we'll make sure to put those links in the show notes so you can find those and follow and connect. Oh, thank you so much. Anything else you want to share before we close today?
I just want to remind everybody that this is that we are each powerful beings, and we are so loved. We are never alone. That divine guidance is always with us. So no matter whatever it is you're going through at this time, just be grateful. Think about what all the many little things that you're grateful for, and that will help you to stay what I call above the line of integrity. Because below the line, and this is a whole other lesson for another time, below the line of integrity is where we get caught up in the negative mindset. Above the line of integrity is where we are living inspired by the divine. And this is where we can remain when we exercise that muscle. So be kind to yourself, love yourself, speak kindly to yourself, and take great care of yourself, because you do matter.
More chills. Thank you so much. So appreciative and grateful for your energy and your time and your presence here on this show. So until next time, everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Aloha.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As always, if this would resonate with anyone you know, please share the episode. You can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans or find me on my website at alignful.com.